Hi, welcome to another edition of What the Fuck Happenings and Such. Yeah, that's what it's going to be for a while till I come up with a better title. What Santino did today. I don't think we'll do that. Slept and such. So theme-wise, we're just sort of stuck with this. This is some summary of what happened this week. But maybe it's just going to be a summary of what I thought about this week. And we'll just forget about the whole community thing because it just really doesn't have any legs. There's such a lack of... I mean, what seemed glaring today's observation was, it's just how, there's no... So we're back to this argument thing and how to have arguments and where to have them and how to have something called a productive argument, and where something's resolved, and because nothing's resolved. I mean, Piro's stupid Rome was forever, and that stupid whatever it is, Eric the red mustache guy, some guy who hasn't really worked most of his life, just going to school. Defending the exploitation of the excessive population in the world, and just taking advantage of a circumstance that shouldn't exist to make huge profits. I mean, not minor profits, but for the rich to get grotesquely richer, clearly exploiting that circumstance. The two have an equal sign right next to them. One equates to the other. And, to use silly arguments like, well, if we didn't exploit them, they'd starve to death. No, if we didn't exploit them, their culture will develop in a different way, and you won't be able to make the same mistake. So, in a sense, you can't overpopulate. There's always a restriction on population, always a restriction on different things, based on the fact that there is no investment in your country, or there's no this or no that, and so you can't do these things, so you don't get into the mess in the first place. Your culture is more, it might be more limited, but it would be more mature, and therefore you won't have the same problem. So it's not really a question of it existing and it not existing, because you can't really go back 200 years and start over with the non-existing part in that real world, because obviously it would be a different world they would live in. It's kind of like making the argument that slaves had the choice of being property or unemployable, and so that should be their choice. The third option would be not to drag them to America in the first place, and not to destroy the natural evolution of their cultures in their own continent. People keep talking like nothing. The Zulus were, pretty impressive, like Aztecs and Incas, and these things would have had a natural maturation if we didn't interfere. It's like South America wasn't destined to be a shithole. We made it a shithole. The Europeans forced that destiny, and there would have been a different destiny without our interference. So fuck you, asswipe. Fuck Canada for producing such creeps. Anyway, asshole. Anyway, so I stopped listening when my name came up because, well, Numbly Numb was not really he wasn't playing his best game. He implied that I said that nobody should make more than $5 million or something. What I've said is nobody should inherit more than. And if you can find some way to really earn it, fine. But these people that have more than that usually didn't earn it. And so they're a minor problem. Capitalism isn't... You pull 90% of the poison. You take 90% of the poison out of capitalism's glands, and all they have fangs with no poison. Capitalism. If you take out the inheritance cheat, because then the capitalists can't do much harm, because there won't be that many of them who earn it, and they all die in the end. So, no problem. They can only waste so much, while they're living. And be there to be witnessed. So anyway, it doesn't really matter. But the point I'm making is that these arguments about capitalism versus communism versus socialism versus this versus that, the nature of the economy, all these things are discussed in such a pitiful way. There's just no, there has to be. You have to address the arguments that have been made by other people, and there's just no willingness to do that. There's no, we've completely lost the response video idea that, this medium once made possible. It's just, there's just nothing. Even as bad as me and the Mystic had an awful lot of, I think, productive video conversations, even though he found them unpleasant. Eventually, because of style issues or whatever. The point is the arguments were made, and I think those kind of things you have to get into that environment and actually counter what people say. And in these rooms, there's a lot of distraction and evasion, and the subject is constantly evolving rather than subjects are being addressed in a more complete manner. And part of that is because some of the stuff you just can't do off the top of your head. It takes perspective to be able to understand completely what somebody's arguing, and then to incorporate into a more rational response to why that doesn't work, because you have to understand timelines, and then you have to go through, well, this is a question that is a question of history, and that there's an epistemic problem versus a indirect problem versus direct problems, and all of that's important. And that's stuff. Those kind of arguments are only going to be developed when you hear somebody's argument. You have some time to think about their argument and understand why the little catch, the little game, the little trick they're playing with words is just that, a word game that doesn't have anything to do with the facts. So anyway, the thing that really gave away this fuckhead, was he called it stealing, to put these limits on this wealth possession, and it's just such an overt cheat. So again, it's another dickless wonder who's probably living on some kind of inheritance or the prospect of it, and just defending this somehow rich people, kids have entitlement to cheat at the game, and the game is real. The stakes are incredibly high. It's much higher than gold medals in Olympics. Okay, the poverty will kill you. It's a fact. It will ruin you, and to be stuck in it, and that's what we're playing for. And you're saying you're entitled to cheat. You're entitled to do the tricks with a net, while the other guy has to do the trick without the net. And then you're saying, well, look, I perform so much better. Well, yeah, it's so much easier to do when you have the net. When you're not terrified about making a tiny mistake, sometimes you have the liberty to do something brilliant, because your mind is free of worry. It's like, any artist will tell you that, any musician will tell you that you can't get obsessed about making mistakes, because that'll just inhibit your capacity to do your best. So fuck you, creepy bastards. Anyway, but they're everywhere. So even, like I said, even Numbly he was making some argument about conspiracies about what the nature of pop culture ends up giving a damn about, whether it's transgender bathrooms or whatever the subject becomes, and how there's some kind of, maybe the CIA or something is seeding this. It just, and you're just saying, come on. It's all just coincidental, circumstantial crap. It all hinges on, presidential blowjobs or something. Somebody says something the wrong way, and, all of a sudden it's a controversy. There's no method to the madness of what becomes the theme. The whole Iraqi war, in a sense, you could just analyze and see that this could have gone so many different ways. I mean, if somebody would have stood up at the time that George Bush was sitting on those corpses with his bullhorn saying, let's go get them. You know, if somebody is like Mandela or somebody would have stood up and said, hey, wait a minute. I predict if you do that, you know, American Satan, you're just going to make it even harder to fix the problems between America and Islam. You're not going to make any progress. You're not going to do anything progressive for either population. America's not going to win, and Islam isn't going to win. You're both going to fucking lose. It could have been a different outcome. You know, one where you just say, this is a good example. This is a good time to say, you know, violence isn't personal, and it's always a crime. And just to say, it's just wrong. It's wrong to make victims to do your free speaking. You don't speak with bullets. And, you know, to make the argument that, you know, all of this casual pain causing, this reckless pain causing, for the sake of some notion that you're entitled, it's just bullshit. You know, Islam needs to make an argument. This extortion bullshit is bullshit. If we're evil and we're wrong, you don't prove us wrong by committing the same crime. I've said this so many times, but I mean, you don't fix bad law by breaking laws. You know, it's just, people are just stupid. So anyway, but that whole conspiracy idea is just so loopy. And it's just, you can just see it, how fucked-hearted everything is. Everything wouldn't be so stupid if somebody was actually maneuvering these memes. So anyway, it's always a little disappointing. Because, you know, you're just saying, you know, how can you think that's possible? You know, it's just silly. Anyway, so, is there anything else? You know, I really don't want to make another capitalism video. But they don't create jobs. They don't do any of this. The rich are totally unnecessary. They're just exploitationists. They just make it. They make everything less efficient because the bottom line is profit, not prosperity. It's a bad way to engineer civilization. Greed. You're a fool if you think greed works. You're a fool. It works for the person who's being greedy. It doesn't work for the victims, you idiot. Fucking idiot. So, anyway, enough of that. In other news, I'm still working on the Inmendham thingy, and you know, adding, you know, to the less public site, you know. But I mean, yeah, I've been playing around with animated GIFs. You know, it's kind of funny. You can really, you know, make yourself look ridiculous. But I was thinking as a way of making little mini movies almost, a way of introducing even audio files where you could just have a little, you know, standing image where you do some kind of Monty Python thing, you know, it's, you know, and then you can have a word on, you know, you can do stuff that's just kind of simple. And so I was thinking I would try to do some subject themes like that with just little bits of animation rather than talking video. But anyway, that's a whole nother subject for some other, yeah, it's just so many things to work on and fiddle with. And, you know, some of it just ends up, you know, I'm distracting myself from things I should be doing because it's kind of like play, you know, when you're fiddling with code, sometimes it's just kind of, sometimes it's incredibly aggravating, and then sometimes it's just very It's like, I don't know, it's like fishing or something. It's just like, you catch something now and then, it makes you feel good. You know, some sort of thing like that. So, anyway, what else? I know there was some other kind of crap going on. Like I said, the Gray Guy's been making a few videos. He's always back in the game lately, so that's good. I didn't watch this one yet. 2-pack one. I don't know exactly what that is, but whatever. Pac or whatever. And I thought there was something else that somebody did something somewhere. I've seen a new cut of the Old Fan movie, and yeah, it's she just keep playing with it, keep re-engineering it, and it gets cleaner and better. But it's just so much of it I've already quite pleased with it as a message, and it's very powerful in my opinion. But yeah, somebody has to actually watch it, I guess, to be influenced by it, and we'll see if we can get that to happen. But it would be interesting to see counter arguments, because it does seem to be a kind of slam dunk argument about the nature of our existence, the whole defense of the consumption, reproduction, cannibalism, addiction, our addiction, parasitism, crap, and that's all we are. It's just this crap that we're playing the game of crap, and there's probably a better way. There's probably more illustrative or complex ways of illustrating just that psychology. I've had it. It plays on me throughout my whole life. This has sort of been a theme, where you sort of get a passion for something, and then you sort of analyze the passion, and you start realizing that it's just really not made out of much. That it's really just some sort of ego issue. I need somebody to confirm my value, or I need some, and you sort of get to the nature of what it is that's making that mean something to you. And it's usually caught up in some sort of ego, vanity, some sort of insecurity, or some kind of other thing that's, you think this will solve the problem. This will the problem will reform with it, just have the passion, so to speak. You just can't evade it. In terms of it will just I don't know how to say it. I mean, you get what you want. I'm just saying the new want will become apparent. So you don't see the new want now. You're saying, oh yeah, no, I don't see that being a problem. I don't see me needing this, and I don't see. You will. So you don't see it yet because you haven't resolved the thing in front of you. But once you do resolve the thing in front of you, this other thing will all of a sudden be a problem. All of a sudden that'll be a new problem. I'm not saying you can't have some mental defenses against that once you've been through it a few times, to recognize that the only things that really matter are your health, kind of thing. You go back to that basic idea that if you have your health, you have everything. Well, in a sense, you have the you've taken out of the equation urgency and necessity, and now all you're fighting is some kind of concept of boredom, and that you should almost be able to almost slap yourself out of. If you're physically comfortable, then all you really need to get out of boredom is to make yourself a little bit intellectually hungry, and that really shouldn't be that hard to do. To find some challenge, a puzzle, to break your boredom. And it doesn't have to be anything complex, but the whole idea of not doing it because of an urgency, because you're threatened with starvation or homelessness or something dramatically horrible, a death even. Just the fact that we're all sitting here saying, I'm going to die. Oh, probably not soon, but who knows? And, I'm just vulnerable to this circumstance. And so now there's a certain urgency because personally I'm not ready to die. And I haven't cleaned up my life, so my life isn't ready to die. I haven't arranged for things to continue to get done, so I'm not, and so there's an urgency just because I have a certain unfinishedness, and I'm not endurable to crisis. And so I guess part of life is getting yourself organized enough where crisis just really can't break, it can't shatter. It can get dirty, it can get wet, it can get moldy, but you can't get to the core of it. You can't hurt it deeply. And, most humans just don't think in those terms, but that's really the trick to life is, finding, just doing that solid foundation thing. Build it once and build it right kind of thing. The little apple a day keeps the doctor away. The little things you can do to make yourself less vulnerable. And unfortunately, you learn all this perspective when it's when you've already let the termites in. And you've already done some catastrophic damage to the foundation that you're living on. You've squandered your health or squandered some element of your welfare through neglect. And, we're all, I think most people have those weaknesses somewhere in their life where they can find where they've left themselves vulnerable. Anyway, so this is all getting a little bit obtuse or something, or it's a tangential. So, but all that psychology is all we are, and all we'll ever be, and blah blah blah. Yeah, the Tween Twoe guy made a video. I hadn't seen him in a while, but it was a little bit. What the fuck? Greytex made a video in full girlyhood. Yeah, I mean, frankly, he does look better as a woman, but I just don't know whether I don't know whether this is some sort of real thing he's doing or whether this is just Greytex being a comedian or what. But I'm just saying it does work. But the problem is in some ways he's just doing this cliche woman thing, and he keeps fiddling with his hair, and so you're just saying, oh, why don't you just get barrettes or something, you fuckhead, so you're not constantly doing this cliche womany thing with the hair flipping. I mean, those are just such giveaways to somebody who doesn't, if you're going to be a girl, then, do it in a reasonable way. I mean, do it. Yeah, I mean, do it sensibly, saying, okay, yeah, obviously, if your hair keeps moving into your face, well, then that's what you put barrettes in it for. Or some other hairspray or something. But you just don't spend the whole video doing this. Anyway, cliche girly moves or something. So I guess I'm just saying that it almost looks it just makes it look less natural, is all I'm saying. It looks like a caricature of being a woman, not being a woman. So I guess that's what I'm saying. Yeah, too cliche. So Connie from the Bronx made some stupid video, but some guys threatening the drunken peasants, but you want the real deal? I'll fight. I'll beat you. I'll smash you. The problem is Tommy does have a weakness. toughness, Tommy's tough and all that stuff, but he does have a shitty intestine, so all you gotta do is hit him like right below the rib cage or something. You probably waste him right away. Yeah, so but anyway, I mean, it's just kind of funny. I mean, just all that, as soon as somebody starts doing that male thing, it does just start saying, "No, I'll fight you, fucker." Even though I'm not pissed off at you or anything, as soon as you see it's like the animal nature, as soon as you see something rising up saying, "I'm the man," it's almost like, I just gotta knock that fucker down. Yeah, it's just a kind of a visceral biology alpha thing, I guess, or whatever. Your horns just start feeling pointier. You want to go ram something. But anyway, but it's just stupid. It's just stupid video, and whatever. The drunken peasants are apparently having a meetup. Guess to go over to Paul's house and have pizza or something. I don't know. Swell. Anyway. I don't know how people watch this shit on this internet, to tell you the truth. I can't, it's like Piro's Room. I was listening to it, and even listening to it was tedious. And I don't like any of the people, and it's just, and they just keep saying the same shit every week, over and over and over again. They're not arguing each other's arguments, so what's the point? They just keep making their argument and keep ignoring the counter argument. So, fuck. Anyway. Just made me kind of, wish that there was some sort of more disciplined response. Point, counterpoint, from Saturday Night Live, point, counterpoint, some sort of mechanism where the points require acknowledgement and answers and counter arguments. Yeah, that kind of thing. So anyway, but people want to argue in blogs versus videos, and I don't know. There's just no rational coherencies to the way that this mechanism is being used to advocate for positions. It's not coherent. Alright, so now I've really, sorry, I babbled on a bit. I know there's some other news, just some lots of crap going on here, and the weather's just dismally dismal. Just very disappointing. You have that early spring, you really get in the mood, and man, you're just hit with this mediocrity, this dank, cold crap, and even my plants really can't thrive if the sun's not out. So so nothing's growing, and it's just all kind of just everything's just stuck in this So another week of the grass grows, and you can't cut it because it's too wet, and so just it's irritating. I'm irritated by this weather. So anyway, but I guess that should be the worst of my worries, right? So if that's something on my mind, it's like, well, I shouldn't even bother worrying about that, because that's not critical. That's not going to fracture the foundation. It's not gonna be, there's no catastrophe in there, so shouldn't even give it a thought. Psychological strategy. No point wasting time on that kind of crap. There's better things to be threatened by. More real, more immediate. So anyway, that's enough. Till next time and such. Late. But that's the way it's been going lately. Anyway, I think there's something else, but it just not happening. Oh, I did want to talk about that Tim's Vermeer guy again. You know, the painting guy. You know, guy figured out that Vermeer probably cheated. You know, when he painted. Yeah, pretty much. And, yeah, it is just. It does. It is, you know, it did have an impact on me. Just the realization that there's this easy way to kind of just cheat. You know, and kind of, you know, pretend a talent that doesn't exist. It's kind of irritating. Anyway, till next time.